Welcome to the Art of Dispute. I am your host, Joe Orsak.
And I'm your co-host, Chris Minamyer.
And we agree on pretty much
Absolutely nothing.
America, you're about to witness three total strangers.
A musician, an artist, and a business professional.
We brought them together to talk about a really hard subject that they had no clue what it was before they got here.
All in the hopes that we can teach you, America, that we can discuss the most controversial topics.
Without being jerks to each other. Imagine that. So stick around, watch the fireworks, because we're about to go live. Welcome to the Art of Dispute. The only show where you can be friended and offended all in the same doggone hour. That's just how we roll. What?
I just remembered I'm about to have a cue.
I looked like he was frustrated. You've been here all day.
I knew it was on your cam. You called me out, alright?
America, we have a problem. And it's not whatever's happening here with me and Chris. It's something way bigger. I don't even... We got cues we're working on. It's like, you know, we're professionals. Don't try this at home.
Oh, I know the problem. That's right.
This is their Nazi thing.
That is the time it takes when you express your opinion for someone to go from 0 to you're a Nazi. And I'm going to go outside and burn your car down, kick your dog in the face, and just make sure that you know that I am not impressed with your opinion.
You are officially unfriended.
You know, and blocked and all this stuff, creating these echo chambers, right? So we're out here showing America that it is possible for us to disagree civilly on even the most controversial topics.
Absolutely.
And we have a great topic for you today, which Joe's about to give us.
Yeah!
Yeah.
We do have a good topic today. You know, we talk about everything on this show. And
I
today,
forgot it already.
we are talking... I'm glad I'm the one introducing the topic.
He's got more cards than me, as you can see.
Yeah, I have a stack of paperwork over here. There's like triplicate forms and stuff we had to file with the government. It's crazy.
And Facebook.
Yeah, and, yeah, true story. That is actually a true story. Anyway, we are talking about today the minimum wage. And was the minimum wage intended to be a livable wage? Is that what it should be? There's another kind of part of the question, per Tiffany's suggestion. I like that angle, so we should talk about that too. So what do you guys think? Chime in with your comments and let us know. And make sure you hop into the group page and discuss over there. This topic is in the group, so make sure you discuss it over there. But before we dive in, shameless plugs. We want to make sure our guests get a little promo going on here. We're going to introduce them and let you guys know who's on the panel today. So, to my left, well, technically everybody's to my left. To my immediate left, we have Miss Lesley-Marie Diaz. Leslie, you need to visit her page over there at lesleymariediaz.com. And she is our artist on the show, and I think we may have some artwork somewhere on the screen.
In this general area, I'm sure.
Yes, nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
somewhere. Yep.
Maybe there, I don't know. I stopped pointing because of the last show.
Yeah. There was some crazy madness with the
graphics.
The graphics.
Here's the frame.
Yes, they were all over.
Yeah, they had to do that.
Yeah. So you've got something coming up, Neon Art Showcase.
Yes, I'm going to be doing a neon art showcase. I'm a visual painter, also a body painter, and I absolutely love working in light. So that's one of the things that I'm working on. And I'll also be performing a set of my original music during the show. So if you want information on that show, be sure to go to my website and sign up for that email list, and that notification will make it straight to your inbox, and hopefully you can make it straight to my show.
There we go. Great. And here's an interesting tidbit about Tiffany. We have asked Tiffany. Oh my gosh, I've made it all the way over to you already. Leslie, we ask all of our guests one fun fact about our guest, and Leslie has a facial hair fetish.
Yes, I absolutely love the versatility of men's beards.
So, how long
All the men in the room, you out of their beard.
So how long have you been doing this? Yeah, all the guys on the panel. Yeah. Like, really?
Just fresh to shake this morning, actually.
Really?
A little crisp.
I'm like super red. I can feel it.
Yeah.
You looked at me. No, I was recording.
How long have you had this feeling?
It probably really picked up. As a child, I had this huge crush on Chuck Norris. I loved it.
That is so
him on the
gross.
walk,
Who didn't?
Walker Ranger.
Who didn't?
I did too.
I told my mother that was a real man and that's who I would marry when I grew up at 5 years old.
There you go.
So I think that's when it all
It
started.
could be a
That's-
worse.
Chuck Norris.
That's
There's a lot of worse
great.
male role models out there.
Chuck Norris recently went to a feminist convention and somebody made him a sandwich.
Did you
I don't know how many people Chuck Norris jokes there are right now.
I know a good
Not
billion
get
of them.
started.
Yeah, I love that Chuck Norris show. I love him. Yeah. Yeah. All right. That's enough of that.
I'm just gonna nip
Yeah.
that one in the bud right there. Bud right there.
Yeah, that one's gone.
Don't you dare. He's still doing it to me.
There's not going to be no show left. It's just all of this is our comedy. Did y'all actually talk about the subject at all? No. Noah Samuels!
Oh.
Veteran of the show, man.
Yeah.
This is like your third appearance.
time,
Third or
something
fourth?
like that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
right on.
Yeah.
He's a returning vet.
First time on TV though.
First time on TV?
Yeah, it's
True
first
story.
time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Right on.
It's only my third time.
That's all. Okay. Dope.
You want to make sure to visit his artist name. Like, what are you on Spotify?
SoundCloud.
Elias M. Powers. Yep.
Yeah.
On
Absolutely.
SoundCloud. Very good. SoundCloud.com/Elias-Powers.
Yes.
There we go. It's on the screen. You should like pass it around. Just send the mug around this.
That way
Is this the sacred mug?
No.
This is the Holy Grail.
Where's Nicky when you need him?
Right? We'll get him on that. That was last week. There was a whole Jesus sound thing going on.
Yes, there was.
It was beautiful. And fun.
No sound effects this week?
Huh?
No sound
Oh no,
effects
they'll
this
be there.
Oh,
they'll
they'll
be
end up
there.
being there. Yeah, for real. And a funny thing about Mr. Noah here, he carries a bottle of Tabasco sauce with him everywhere.
Hot sauce in the bag, always. Even at my friend's house, if I forget to bring it, it's like I bought a bottle to be each of my friends' houses. So if I don't have my bottle, it's there in their cabinet.
You and Hillary.
Yeah. Hillary? Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. See, that
Hillary.
was a great. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was on radio at one point and said she always carries a bottle.
Hillary's my favorite panderer ever.
Yes.
But
Hamburger squared. She had it down.
Pandora's box.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Pandora's bottle.
Pandora's bottle. Miss Reyes, Tiffany Reyes. She's also a regular in the group. Yes,
Yeah.
a regular commenter. Yeah, always bringing some good content into the group. Love it. Domestic goddess. That is her official. Right here, it says it on the card. Domestic. It's the
I don't think
official.
he believed himself when he said it.
Right. I double checked. It's there. Yep.
It is
It's
there.
official.
Yes, that's my title.
Must be true. It's on the card. And your website, your
Well, my
Instagram,
Instagram.
right? Your Instagram is original_sugar mommy.
Yes. That's
Nice.
because I bake, not.
Mr. Rand, come off camera here. Right, Mr. Rand. Yeah, he's like, yeah,
Way
she
to go, bro.
Yeah, she provides. I just, I'm eye candy. Lay around the house looking hot. That's what I do. Yeah, right? So we have to find out what y'all's take is. I want to get like just a 1 minute, what's your bullet point kind of thoughts on this subject? And then we'll dive in, right? So you're the veteran. You've been on a few times here. I'm going to jump to you first on this. You know, what's your take? Was the minimum wage intended to be a livable wage?
Whoa, dude, what a great question. Yes, I thought so myself. I cannot wait to hear what they're going to say next.
Me either.
How much does it cost you to watch TV? The average household pays between $100 and $150 every month. Finally fed up with the rising cost of cable and satellite? Cut the cord and start watching the channels you want at a fraction of the cost. With IXQ TV, you'll have access to thousands of live TV channels, including sports, movies, news, premium networks, kids channels, and even local channels for as low as $39 a month. Stream in HD on your TV, tablet, phone, or even computer with multiple devices streaming at the same time. IXQ TV requires no contracts or credit checks, no installation or cancellation fees, no bogus surcharges or hidden fees. $39 a month means $39 a month. Say goodbye to high cable bills forever. Visit mycablebillstinks.com today.
What's your take? Was the minimum wage intended to be a livable wage?
In past tense, as the question addresses, was the minimum wage made to be livable? Yes. I do think the time that it was presented, I think what, like the 1950s, 1930s? It was the 30s? Okay.
38? Yeah.
Right after the Depression?
Okay, yeah, right around that time, it was like when it was introduced, people could live and make a living and, you know, be okay, be decent, and not have to choose between, you know, rent and maybe what you're gonna eat the next day, and, you know, still have a decent lifestyle and even be able to, you know, raise a family on that. And, you know, so I believe, was it intended to be? Yes, it was absolutely, minimum wage was intended to be livable, yes.
Okay, all right. I'll jump to you.
Piggybacking on what he was saying, yes, at the time, but my concern, I guess, is more recent and how things need to change and how any new idea, yeah, it could take years for you to kind of work out the kinks and figure out what's going to be a better point for today. Absolutely.
Tiffany.
I don't think it was necessarily intended at its creation to be a livable wage. I think part of the purpose was child labor existed at the time. So, you know, why would you pay a 7-year-old child the same wage that you would pay a 30-year-old living man? So I think part of the reason for the minimum wage was to kind of even that out. So that way, you know, your 7-year-old would make the same as, you know, the 30-year-old.
Don't take advantage of your kids.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So we lost that.
So I think that, you know, like...
Now I'm seeing a solution.
Like Leslie was saying, I think the more important question is, rather than what was it intended for, what should it be used for moving forward?
Like musical chairs with the glass.
Thank you.
Have you been missing this?
I have. I've been listening to Joe this whole time.
Yeah, I drive him to drink.
Looking at my beer.
I just have 2 more cents.
Huh?
I have 2 more cents.
Okay, jump in.
I think that everyone's idea of what livable is, that's totally up to interpretation of what livable means. Livable to me might means having a guitar, a dog, and a camper, and I'm happy. Livable to somebody else means I need that suburban house and a bedroom for each child. Everybody has their
2.5 picket fence,
yeah.
big screen
Everybody has their
TV.
interpretation of what livable is, but
Can't really do out.
Yeah.
I have to have internet. That's obvious. I mean, that's obvious, but I have to have high-speed internet.
High speed, not low speed.
Right. You know, so I mean, how do you live without high-speed internet? You know what I'm saying? So
America's got the richest poor people in the world.
yeah.
We talked about that on the last show.
Yeah. So I was talking about in fact, it was in the group that we talked about this, that there was a guy that came here from Nigeria, and he came here with nothing more than his degree. That was what he came with. And he owns a bunch of rental properties now, and he bought Section 8 houses, and he rents out these Section 8 houses, and he was telling his family in Nigeria about the people who rent these apartments, and he was explaining that these are poor people. This is America's poor people, and he's like, they sleep on beds, and they have big TVs, color TVs, and all. And he said, my relatives don't believe me. Like they think I'm making this stuff up, that this is our poor people, because the poor people in the rest of the world look very different from the poor people in America, for the most part. There's certainly, tent cities and, some
There's one
issues
very
there,
close
but
to here.
by and large, our poor
Probably
don't look
also
anything.
third world versus first world.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
our poor look very different than the world's poor by and large. Yeah, anyway, that's a whole nother show. So, from a topic standpoint and kind of jumping into some questions. First of all, Chris, do you have any thoughts?
In my opinion, the minimum wage was designed to be a place where you started your career in any career. And now you start your career, you start at a young age for the most part. So if you're starting your career, should your career automatically be able to afford housing, or should you stay at home with your parents for the first 4? Was that your parents' burden, or should 18 still be the minimum wage? Everybody gets it, and they are able to go out and buy their home, because that's what I see. Minimum wage is the starting job. You're 18 years old, or 16 at that matter, right? Do you need housing at that point, other than the one that's being provided you from your family?
Provided that you have the
A family, right. So, and before 18, the government picks the bill up. So, you have 2 years to get out of minimum wage at 16 to 18. By the time you're 18, maybe you can get up and have a raise and work 2 years in a job and start into managing the fast food restaurant, or maybe, right? So that's kind of my take on it. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but if we're going to break, we can hear about that when we get back.
Yeah, let's get your thoughts on that when we come back from break. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Whee!
Talking about the minimum wage.
Hey, get out of my chair.
What?
Go on like 5 minutes, she's taking over.
For a second, you got look cuter.
Wow.
You
Hey,
have
Joe.
so much hair.
Joe, where did the hair come from? It's really nice to me. Probably that 80s hairband you've been wanting to do.
Yeah. I'm not on board with child labor, I'm just saying, for the record. Actually, I am.
Lie down back there.
I am, actually. I'm totally on board. Put them to work. Woo! Well, welcome to the Art of Dispute. As you heard, we're discussing the minimum wage today. What does it mean even to ask, is minimum wage a livable wage? What is a livable wage? What is that supposed to mean?
I think the livable wage means absolutely nothing without the financial literacy behind it. Because we can give the same person $4K a month and they'll invest and the other person will just blow it. So something that definitely needs to happen, and I've seen a little bit more of it lately, is on financial literacy programs in schools starting as young as elementary, middle, because there's so much generational poverty that still needs undoing and reteaching.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I've known really rich poor people, and I've known poor rich people.
Most of America is rich poor.
Right.
Rich
Rich poor people. Yeah. No, most of America is poor rich people.
poor. Poor rich people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The facade.
Yeah.
30K
I have
millionaires.
I'm driving a $60,000 car, and I'm negative 30 in the bank. You know, that kind of thing.
That's crazy.
Every homeless person has a cell phone.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah. And like, where are you charging it? Where are you charging it? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
They charge it outside of hospitals.
The light,
Okay.
the light pole.
Yeah, like pools have them.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And they're like USB ports for the local bus stop.
Some of them.
I saw
yeah.
that. Are you
Some
serious?
have
Yes.
buses have.
Yeah, that is
charging
true.
ports.
And I think you can
Yeah,
spend
the
like
next
hours
time
on
I
the bus.
kill my phone is get
Like,
up on a metro.
A bus like rolls up at a stoplight and a bunch of homeless people.
for the 2 minutes it's there. Is that what you're saying?
I think on the other hand though, I think yes, it does come with a lot of financial literacy that's so important because in reality, families should be teaching their children financial literacy, and I think that's one thing that has been passed down to me that I'm trying to as an adult learn, but also I have the understanding that
QuickBooks is still beyond me.
right,
Yeah,
exactly. I'm
yeah.
still learning how to do my taxes. It'll be my second time this year. I'm still
My
like.
dad laughs at me when I say that too.
Even if you're proficient with so many other things in your life, you log on to QuickBooks the first time, and
right,
like
no, it's just like any other thing in life, right?
Yeah, the first time I logged on to QuickBooks, actually somebody helped us with it, and I mean we saw how much money we were spending going out to eat. Oh my God!
I am scared to see that. I don't even buy groceries.
I think 30 days without
Why?
alcohol, I
Why
saved
buy
$400.
groceries?
Right.
There's so many good restaurants.
Yeah, because tabs rack up in the
Downtown.
bottom. Oh yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, I had said, should it be applied to coming right out of your parents' house, or should it be while you're at home? Should you get the minimum wage if you're living under your parents' roof still, and or should you be paid enough to leave?
Yeah, it's like livable wage. Does that mean livable as in you're living with your parents, or like you're living on your own and you're like a 40-year-old trying to survive? I mean, like, what's going on? What does that mean to y'all?
I think livable in terms of just fully being independent, being an adult. And I'm not talking about supporting anybody else in this particular context in 2019, but supporting yourself. Livable wage should be able to pay rent, pay for a place to live, pay for food to eat, and pay to have clothes and transportation. And I think those are pretty much the main tenets.
Transportation as well.
Medicine.
You add transportation.
Yeah, medication.
Entertainment.
Entertainment. Well, I mean, it's not
Television?
really a necessity, but I mean,
It's a
if
lot
you
of
can,
money.
Yeah, if you want to add entertainment, that's cool. And well, I'll kind of throw that into the communication because you have cell phones, and a cell phone's a necessity. It's hard
The
to.
internet.
Yeah. The
Internet,
internet.
cell phone.
You can't look
car,
at your job schedule without having
home.
internet, and so that's important.
Gas.
Just in Houston alone, that's about $36,000 a year.
Gas.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is
car?
true.
Gas for your car.
Yeah.
The flip side of that, which none of us have touched on, is not necessarily
I'm
health
just trying to
insurance.
name stuff
So,
too.
so you have somebody that's working, let's say, 40 hours a week, and they're working minimum wage, but they're still at or below the poverty level, and the corporation for which they work pays next to nothing, if not no dollars, in taxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really, whether we realize it or not, we're all still picking up the tab for that person to have a livable wage, whatever that is.
Ooh, dang! They're bringing the heat. It's getting so hot. I wonder what they're gonna say. Stick around. Let's find out.
So you have somebody that's working, let's say, 40 hours a week, and they're working minimum wage, but they're still at or below the poverty level, and the corporation for which they work pays next to nothing, if not no dollars, in taxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really, whether we realize it or not, we're all still picking up the tab for that person to have a livable wage, whatever that is.
Here's an interesting tidbit. In 1938, when the law was passed, the wage was set at 25 cents an hour. If we adjust for inflation, that same 25 cents an hour in 2019 dollars would be $4.38 an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cost of living in any area.
Yeah, that is the value of the 25 cents in 1938.
That would
Inflated to, no, it wouldn't provide anything,
no.
right? So it tells you that the problem wasn't in the dollar amount as much as it was in what it means to be able to subsist, the buying power of that dollar.
So my problem with when you try to convert you're really converting currency in time, is that it's not really a 1-to-1 ratio. Because
Cell phones went around back then.
cell phones went around back then, and then also the amount of money that people spent on food, like the percentage of their income on food.
That's literally what I was getting at, was the buying power
right.
of that dollar.
Yeah.
Right. So
So-
that 455 may technically, that may be what it is today, but what does that get you? Also, I mean,
So-
what they spent for physicians and doctors and medication was far
So-
less.
so
Insurance is far less
The
than what we spend
follow-up to
today.
this statement, which is, I will say, I'm very much constitutional conservative. I do not like the idea of government stepping into pretty much anything. I name anything that performs less well than government. There's very little.
Religion?
Yeah.
Can I hug you? Is that okay?
There's very little that government does well. So I'm not a fan at all of government intervention into anything. So government stepping in and mandating what a private company needs to pay, to me is insane. Yet I will say that when it comes to the purchasing power, I sit on the other side of the fence on this point to say that I did a lot of research on this recently because it was a topic in the group, and we posted this in the group, so jump into the group. If you haven't been a part of the group, you need to be a part of the group. It's this stuff happening 24/7. It's a great ongoing day-to-day conversation. And you'll see some very brilliant points from this Tiffany over there, who's a regular in the group. But in researching this, at the highest point where the wage had the most buying power in America was 1968. The minimum wage, right? 1968.
Really? What would make us that?
1968.
What was the hourly conversion? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't.
It was probably somewhere about $15, $12 to $15.
Here's an interesting follow-up to that. The lowest buying power since the minimum wage was established is right now.
Wow.
And that was a very
praying money for someone? Like,
devaluing the dollar. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things to that. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a where I would fall more on the side of my liberal friends in this part of it is to say that I don't think it's the minimum wage part. I don't like government being involved in it. I don't like them being involved in it at all.
local government.
You said it's not the wage that needs to be higher, it's that the cost of living needs to be more affordable, period.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that, and I think when, I honestly believe, when government steps in and starts influencing the market one way or another, where free market isn't allowed to do what free market does, we start experiencing these kind of problems, where there's manipulation going on that creates a false economy. College is a perfect example. When the government says, I will hand you as much money as you want to go to college, what happens? The price of college skyrockets. Name another industry in the United States where the vendor gets to increase prices 5 to 7% every year for 30 years straight.
So
That's college. And why does that happen? Because government stepped in and created a false economy and said, I want to lend money without any responsibility to that lending.
So do you feel that do you feel that things like, say, housing and Section 8, do you think that that's driven up the cost of living for rent?
I do.
Okay, how so?
So again, it goes to creating a false economy.
Yeah.
When the government starts putting money into the hands of a buyer who didn't have that money, that automatically changes the dynamics of the market.
Yeah, okay. Wow,
So-
I can see that, most definitely. So then, in that respect, I think what the government should be focusing on is, and I think we touched on that earlier, was that we should be teaching people, and it starts at a young age, students in school even, financial literacy. We have classes and we have PD and we have all different types of electives that we want to involve them in. And I remember one time we came on the show and they have like, we had the conversation where we had, should cross-dressers, you know, read books to children in the library? We have time, we have time.
Drag queen story hour. Oh my God, it's a subject that keeps coming back.
Yeah, well, we have
That
time.
sounds like fun. I don't know what the problem is.
Relatively speaking.
I want to go.
You should have been on that episode. But no, we have time for kids to do all these things, but it's like, are we really teaching like kids financial literacy? Are we really preparing them for adulthood? Because I'm 25 now and I'm still figuring this thing out. I'm still learning how to budget and all this type of stuff. And a lot of things I feel that I should have known. You know, this shouldn't be my this shouldn't be my second year that I've been, learning to do taxes and stuff like that. And I think that my life would be a lot more affordable if I knew, how to handle my finances, but also
Let me ask you a question.
There's places out there that
Yeah,
you can
absolutely.
learn that. For sure.
Let me ask you guys a question. I want to keep us like on point with some various questions here, right? In the group, Brian Boniface asked this question, and was kind of touched on this earlier. He said there's nothing in the Constitution that allows government to force private businesses under the threat of violence to pay minimum wage. If the government has no expressly stated power in the Constitution to influence or to do this, how do you feel just on a personal level? Because sometimes there's subjects we're like, yeah, I like that and I think that's a good thing, and so we'll turn our head the other way, so to speak, when government takes the power to do that.
Because it helps you.
Right, because
Works in
it
your
helps you.
favor. Right.
Right.
And it works against somebody else.
Right. And so when they take power in one area, you have to keep in mind that there may be somebody in power following that person that you really disagree with, who uses that same power in a way that you're very much not happy with.
Absolutely.
Right? And so if there's not an expressly stated power in the Constitution for this, how do you guys feel about, if that's not stated, how would you justify granting the government, so to speak, that overreach?
I think in situations where there's obvious signs of abuse, and I would say, to me, abuse is like having someone work and you know that they're not going to be able to buy no food with what you're giving them. This is absolute. They can't feed themselves. They can't work for you.
Yeah.
At the very minimum, they should at least be able to afford food and housing, or else that employee can do nothing for you.
Yeah, if I can't get to work, if I don't make enough to be able to even get to work, that becomes an issue. I think that was the issue I had with the job.
Shared
some months ago.
housing. You go to shared housing.
Yeah,
Go
shared
to
housing.
Shared vehicles. Shared. I mean,
Yeah.
we can start splitting costs down. Just my caveat to that.
Absolutely. I think I have 3 roommates myself. So.
Well, I do too.
Yeah.
I make twice the minimum wage.
Yeah.
So going back to financial literacy, I think it's really interesting the number of young entrepreneurs that we're starting to have that are way above that living wage.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but then at the same time, if they're not being taught what's necessity versus
Such a great
want.
point. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna interrupt you. So
Yes,
we're,
jump in.
we're still we're still focusing on the individual with regards to minimum wage. Let's talk about the companies that are paying these wages, minimum or otherwise. Any company, regardless of what they do, whether it's McDonald's or Amazon.
The spending ability is where I love where you're going with it, but right now I buy my food off of Amazon
No,
Prime.
I'm not talking about spending ability.
Well,
I'm talking about
instead of giving my money to somebody like Walmart who's paying minimum wages, I'm giving my money to Amazon who's delivering my food, and now no longer do I don't need a
Do you get
car.
milk and cereal from Amazon?
Yep.
Yes,
I get almond
absolutely.
milk. It comes in a big pot, big thing.
Talk to me when the cameras turn off.
No, I'm not even
I don't know
talking
color.
about buying
Wow.
ability. I'm talking about any company, their number one job, Amazon's number one job, Walmart's number one job isn't to sell stuff. It's to make money.
Right.
Okay.
And so their
That's
goal,
the number one job of every company.
every company. So
Keep the doors open.
their inherent goal will be to cut costs across the board.
Sure.
That includes employees. So should we, as a country, allow a company, any company,
Should set
to...
it at what the company makes. Whatever their minimum, or their most dollar is, sets their minimum rate, major
Well,
pay. Is that
what I'm just saying is that you
if you
shouldn't...
make so much, you have to pay so much?
No, what I'm saying is, my personal opinion is that we shouldn't be allowing companies to turn out giant profits and have employees on government assistance. Because then the rest of us, with our tax dollars, are just footing the bill for them to be able to...
So minimum wage would go on companies top.
So let me ask you.
It either goes, it goes on some, the issue doesn't go away. It either
Right.
goes on our tax dollars or it goes on the
I love what
company's
you're
bottom
saying. I'm
line.
just
So hang on.
Yeah.
So let me ask you.
I love that.
We agree from opposite sides of the viewpoint.
Yes, we do,
I think
we
that's
do.
where I'm at too.
Yes.
So I don't believe government has any business in the welfare market.
I agree with that.
Right?
I absolutely agree
Really?
with
But
that.
so-
Okay, I wouldn't think that, but that's interesting to hear.
But they have
So-
like,
so hang on.
Because we live in the wealthiest country in the world. Why should there be a system of welfare when you have people that work? I mean, if you're disabled, that's
Right.
that's a separate issue. But
Right.
if you're working 40 hours a week, there should be no reason why somebody should be getting
Correct.
food stamps.
Correct.
None.
Wow. See, I love the show. All right, so check it out.
Comes down to the moving out thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I think he's gonna say something really.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because we disagree on all sorts of stuff on the page
Right.
on a regular basis. But I love this. This is always, it's like, sharpening. I still believe that this group of people, 5 random strangers, can come together and solve our societal problems way more efficiently and way more effectively than Washington. And this is a great example because we're agreeing on something. We have common ground here. It's just a matter of figuring out how we implement the solution. I think as soon as you start putting government in the position of handing out checks, it creates a false economy that jacks with the whole system. So in other words, if the government wasn't in that position, then the employee says, I can't live on this, so I can't work for you, right? Then that corporation says, dang it, I've got to find somebody to fit this position. Now the free market says that corporation has to pay more if they want to attract somebody who will actually take the job.
And
See what I'm saying?
Right.
And so as soon as the fill-in-the-blank, support from government stops, then that corporation is forced into a position to have to pay what the market will support,
Do you think that?
and the pay goes up.
Do you think that it would be more efficient
It's
for their money to put a machine into our place?
Sometimes, yeah.
So then
I'm not against that.
But then we would have a lot more people.
I'm not against that.
jobs, and a lot more people.
I'm not against it.
Looking for work and
there was a
driving
point in time.
the wage down.
There was a
More
point in
people work for
time
less.
where the place that made the buggy whip laid off employees.
Wow.
Right.
That's the march of technology. I'm not opposed to that, right?
But that,
I
that
don't
could
think we
create
can
a
stop
con-
it.
Yeah, you
even
can't
even
stop
if
it,
we
exactly.
wanted
But
to.
And I
it's
think
gonna
trying
happen.
is bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, and if you
Well,
if
not
you
that trying
envision-
is bad. Trying is futile. So we
Right.
might as well go
Right.
ahead and get used to it and try to make the adjustments.
Here's the counter to that point is this. We shouldn't be fighting to keep the buggy whip job. We should be looking always ahead to where is technology going, and we should be training employees
Technology
ahead of
can go
time
too
to meet that demand. Like, let me put it this way.
Yes.
Right now
Absolutely.
in America, there's a massive demand and a way behind the curve need for coders. Right?
Yeah.
I know this on a very personal level, right? My son at 15 already knows way more code than 90% of people walking the street, right?
That's great.
I'm not worried about him financially ever, right? He's going to be in demand, right? So
That's why I'm a paramedic.
he could be training for a buggy whip job, and no matter how good he is, it's not going to help him.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same thing. Like, so
Your
if
dad
we
told me that about art one time.
if we get the government, my position is if we get the government out of minimum wage, if we get the government out of supporting and saying we'll subsidize this employee so they can work for you, then that person says I can't work for you because I can't live on what you're paying, and then the response is now that job is vacant and they have to keep enticing more to get the person to fill the job.
Wow.
And eventually that wage is going to come up to a point where the person says, yeah, I'll go ahead and take the job.
So that's the idealistic situation. The reality is that person at that wage level doesn't have the ability to say, I'm not going to go to work tomorrow because they literally cannot make it.
That's what food stamps do.
And then, yeah.
No. Right, that's the government
so
subsidizing
right.
the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
my point is that if government were out of that, right, there would certainly be a time period where that would occur, where that the person,
Right.
where
Well, that's
they're going, I
a
can't
lot of
live.
heartache with a lot of people,
Right.
Or a whole nother depression could happen from something.
But my point is that that would be a short-lived experience because just as much
there'd be a vacuum. It creates a vacuum, and it needs
the
to
company has to keep the doors open, so they can't have no employees
Right.
for any kind of extended period.
It would be quick.
So it would have to adjust quickly.
Or they
So
would
I'm just
tank,
saying the
or
government
business would-
screws up
And
everything.
you're
so,
talking about less than a 30-day period.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you,
We're just solving.
2 weeks.
Talking about a
that's-
day,
You gotta be
really.
on the floor.
By,
We're just,
by most people's standards.
I
We're
mean,
just
you-
solving the world's problems right here on the show. I think we got it all nailed down.
If they said
Yeah,
the
we're
wage is
done.
$6 and everybody quit,
Yeah.
you know, and everybody said no.
Well, we are at the end of the doggone show, if y'all can imagine
Are you
that.
sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this time.
That was like.
I know. It's an inside joke.
Inside
It's
joke.
an inside joke.
So book your seat.
Yeah.
Reach out. Either one of us.
Look, we'll be back next week with another great show, but we've got to have some mad talent.
No what?
Mad talent!
Yeah.
I can't wait for you guys to hear this. What are you going to play for us? Tell us where we can find it, and take it away. We're out.
Yeah. Real niggas don't change, they only transform, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah. I just turn on, I'm like a light switch. Cause I'm feeling lightweight. Yeah, I'm on some fly. Used to be a pilot. In my past life, I was airborne, something like a virus. And didn't live to tell that I crash landed on an island. So I've been working on my writing, waiting on my Lord to open doors. That's my supplier. If he open doors, I know my heart and soul they will agree. Cause I don't give my time a dime to those who may belittle me. Now they just don't sit with me when I know life's a symphony. And everything that's orchestrated, it's organized by him for me. If you see that light shining, I know you see that gift in me. I believe that I got work and purpose on this earth. Control the surface when I remember the time I couldn't afford flame my hot Cheetos or lime. $1.52 and a dime. Now I'm all good. Now I got you with a shine. Now I feel like Optimus Prime in the prime of his life. Transforming up for the fight. Everyone getting a blessing, but now I want mine. Keeps you in front of the line. Well, I walk this way, so hold my hand, Lord. I count big change to keep my hands warm. Folks these days don't know what to stand for. Real don't change, they only transform, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now I don't know what you stand for, cause everybody wanna sit down these days. Everybody wanna get a crown, be great, wanna act like they own the throne. When they can't, don't nobody wanna work for her, for a surfboard, no. But they all tryna ride your wave, and you can roll over and die today, and they'll still try to find a way to find out how you operate. What I need with a Christmas list when every day is a holiday. Transform when I hop out the chrysalis. No box, just me like, nah, nigga, this the gift. I get the bread like a foot long, really something to lick on, cause I'm fly like an airline. I make moves on a lift off, fall back like a hairline, maneuver and kick off. How somebody gonna tell me about what I won't do, and you don't know about what I go through? I'm just saying, you so super hated, something like Vegeta boy, but I'll go cool, cause I got the key, over 9,000, I got it on lock. Used to be pebble, but now I'm a rock. I'm growing bolder each day, I get older, a chip off the block and it feels right. Can't believe that it's real life. I say people I beat, most people think I'm conceited, but I say I for no evil. Plug the auxiliary up and open up to this Elias. Powers up in your speakers, cause see, I got an ear for the good vibes and a gift for the good rhymes. All I need is a good Lord, told fear this is goodbye. I transform and evolve into what, man, it's hard to say, but make room and start the rave, because I feel a transformation taking place. I walk this way, so hold my hand, Lord. I count big change to keep my hands warm. Folks these days don't know what to stand for. Real don't change, they only transform, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, ooh, yeah, yeah. Oh, oh, oh.
Yes! Ow! Way to go! You left him hanging! Oh, no! Yeah, way to go, man! Another great performance. Again, what was that song called?
Transform.
All right, yeah, and we can find it. Where can we find it?
On SoundCloud, at Elias M. Powers, M.Powers SoundCloud, if you look it up on SoundCloud.
There we go. Another great performance, man. Killed it. Another great show. It was an awesome show.
Yeah,
Lots of great conversation.
Sweet.
Yes, I got a new host here, right here. She's gonna be taking over the show. We're in the we're negotiating the contract right now. Yeah.
Nobody told me anything about the contract.
Mom's got that unlocked.
We will be back next week with another great topic, another great panel, another great artist. We'll be back. We'll see you then.